Hello once again, my friends. Today I'd like to talk about an ice fishing reel my father developed, about 50 years ago. Around here, ice fishing's pretty simple. You cut a hole in the ice, you get yourself a stick like this, wind some string around it, tie it off on the end. You make it long enough so it won't go in the hole. Usually a little thicker than this, but this is all I had around. You wind some string around it, put a hook on the end, and then you let out whatever, however deep you want the string to go in, however deep you want your hook and bait to be with a weight. And you leave it on top of the ice, a fish bites it, pulls it off to the end, fights around, and there you got a fish. Well, that like I say, this is as old as the hills ice fishing around here, like this. Now, 50 years ago, we used to go ice fishing with my dad a lot. And then we'd use whatever round stick we could find. And we had a couple of these laying around the house that winter. These are a roller blind, from the core of a roller blind. What they are is you put a blind around here that rolls up for windows, to cover windows, and on one end they have a free spinning end that just goes into a hole. On the other end they have a slotted key, and you can wind that up, put tension on it, and that's as you're unwinding the blind. Like a blind would be wrapped around this, and it would be hung in a frame, in the window frame, and as you pulled it out, it would wind up. As you pull it down, it would wind up this thing. Now there's a latch that catches it, so you can set the blind whatever depth you want. Now this latch has an interesting property. If you wind it just a bit, it unwinds. And what that does effectively is it winds up the blind. Now this was notorious for the old roller blinds. You'd go to pull it down a little bit more, and the blind would slip out of your hand and tuck, 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 tuck. Maybe some of you have seen that or actually lived that. But the whole idea was it would wind up the blind onto it. So my dad took these out ice fishing. They were convenient round sticks laying around, and one day he's sitting there ice fishing, string around, or looking at one of these things, sitting in the chair looking at one of these roller blind cores, and he got to thinking, well, what if you actually mounted that thing in a frame so that it did the same thing to line that it did to the roller blind, that it would play it out, wind up tension. So he started building these frames for them. And the frames, I don't know if you can see, the frames have the kind of connections needed. The pin connection with just a hole down here in the bottom, and the slot connection up here in the top that this slotted bit goes in. So he modified one of these cores. It built up over a while. At first he just used a crude frame he made and one of these roller blinds with nothing on it but the string. But the final design of the roller was like this. You cut a couple donuts that fit on there, glue them on, put the string on. So I'll try to demo this quickly here. And some bells. A bell. And this is the last kind of frames he made. No, these are the second generation. The third generation he actually dovetailed and glued this without nails. Alright, so I'll try to give you a quick demo of how it works here. This is how the blind works. Okay, so you put it in there, you put your bait on your hook, you pull it out. Ooh, that nearly went bad. I want to take this hook off, it's going to jerk me around. So you could do a certain amount of pre-tensioning, like there's a weight on this thing, is there? I'm not sure here. So you pull out fishing line. Ooh, went the wrong way on that. So you pull out fishing line, it builds up tension. Now depending on the size of fish you're going after, this is for a big fish, this heavy line. You could use really light line and wind it up to just a light tension. Now, once you get up to the tension you want, you can take it out and then just adjust this link so the hook is hanging below the water, as deep in the water as you want it, like 4 or 5 feet, 6 feet. We used to go for big pike. And then well, let's say once you got your tension up, then you put it back in there without triggering it. These were made by a company called the He Shade Roller Blind back then. That's where my dad used to order from. They're still around, but I don't know if they still make exactly the same thing. But anyways, you tension it out and lock it. See if you can lock it with the ratchet that's there. Okay, so this will be hanging below the water. The fish comes along and bites it, and that releases and that sets the hook. And if it doesn't set the hook, see how it supplies constant tension? And the farther out you get, the higher the tension goes. So that was really good at playing fish. Like it would hurt them in the mouth or make them come back without ripping their mouth. And this thing would, it would play and play. And if you just left it alone, big 20-pound pike, you'd come back and it was totally played out. You just pulled it out of the water. Just let the reel do its business. So if you're interested in making something like this, find yourself a roller blind, make a frame. You get the idea now. Now, in some jurisdictions, this kind of fishing reel is too automatic. It's not allowed. But around here it is, it's allowed for ice fishing, or it was at least back when my dad was making these. The final version he also painted fluorescent orange because snowmobilers kept hitting them on the lake. They wouldn't see them just sitting over a hole in the ice. So he painted them fluorescent orange so snowmobilers could see them on the lake and other people driving cars, whatever. So there you go, an automatic fishing reel that, oh yeah, if you want to go after big pike, ice fishing, big muskies, this is the best reel in the world for it. Automatic, bell rings, very rarely ever slip a big fish on this reel. So there you go. The automatic fishing reel, ice fishing reel my dad invented almost 50 years ago. So that's about it for now. Until next time, good hunting and sweet water, my friends.